News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
KVNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Roof Rescue. An organization is taking a very unique approach to provide and connect veterans with resources. On a recent KVNU For the People program, 12th Sergeant Major Army retired Jack L. Tilley said he founded the American Freedom Foundation to, among other things, try to ease the transition back to civilian life for veterans.
Like I said, I stayed 36 years in the service, and when I got out of the service, it was just a culture shock. And there's a lot of veterans out there that really struggle about, what they're going to do and how they're going to work, and what's the best way to get out there and start, transition out of the Army. So yeah, We've given classes, we have seminars, we do all sorts of stuff about transition.
Before he retired, the Sergeant Major started taking concerts over to soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan.
When I retired, my good friend Ted Hacker, which was the manager of the acts that went over there, or some of the acts that went over there, I talked to him about, hey, look, let's see if we can't do something for veterans. So this is a long story. I'm going to take you on. So we got together and we said, let's start doing concerts. And so we did concerts for 10 years, and we was lucky enough to give away, I think, probably about $1.5 million back to veterans.
After that, he said they connected with Purdue University to give another $13 or $14 million in scholarships out to veterans. Following that, they started doing hiring events to help veterans. But then the COVID-19 pandemic hit, so they decided to start a podcast called Your Next Mission. If you'd like more information or even to make a donation to the work they do, visit AmericanFreedomFoundation.org. KVNU News Time is 4:07. KVNU weather tonight, partly cloudy this evening, then mostly cloudy. Haze through the night. Patchy fog after midnight. Low 5 to 10 above. Partly cloudy Tuesday morning, then clearing. Patchy morning fog and hazy conditions tomorrow, upper 20s. It's been to 33. Right now it's 33 degrees at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Wheatland Seed. With higher fertilizer prices and drought conditions, 2022 will be challenging. So lower your input costs during Wheatland Seed's preseason sale. All oats, barley, cover crops, and alfalfa will be priced below last year's prices. Visit wheatlandseed.com for more information.
If you think it's expensive to hire a professional, just wait until you hire an amateur.
Why the heck is the roof leaking? Larry, you said you got it fixed.
I thought it was fixed, Donna. Everything was fine until it started raining.
Larry, that's the point of fixing the roof, is so we can actually live here when it's stormy outside.
This is David with Roof Rescue. Our experienced roofing team is tried and true and will fix your roof guaranteed. Visit roofrescueusa.com to schedule your free roof inspection. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind.
KVNU News Time is 4:08. Party leaders at the Republican National Committee's winter meeting this past week left no doubt that the GOP is choosing to serve Donald Trump and his political interests before the next presidential election. That's the case even though RNC rules require the committee not to pick favorites in a contested primary. While some party officials pledged neutrality, they devoted considerable energy to disciplining Trump's rivals and embracing his grievances with the Commission on Presidential Debates. The RNC's continued loyalty offers an example of how Republicans continue to embrace the former president, despite evidence that he sought to subvert the vote counting before leaving office. And two bills introduced by a panel of lawmakers today would tighten restrictions around voting in Idaho, making it illegal to deliver non-family members' mail-in ballots to the post office, ending same-day voter registration, and limiting the types of identification voters can use at the polls. A third bill would require residents with homeowners' property tax exemptions to use that address for the purposes of voting and running for office. The House State Affairs Committee voted to introduce all three bills this morning. Some GOP-led states have increasingly restricted voting access as some Republicans continue to advance former President Trump's claims of election fraud. KVNU News Time is 4:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
NMLS 1817019.
From our Freedom Loan that covers 100% of your closing costs to our $1,000 lowest rate guarantee. As Utah's premier mortgage broker, LendRight Mortgage shops the top lenders in the country to find you the absolute lowest rate and fees. We often beat other lenders' rates by 1/4 to 0.5%. That means a lower mortgage payment for you, which can save you tens of thousands over the life of your loan. Compare us to any lender. If we can't save you a minimum of $1,000, we'll give you $1,000. Nobody does what LendRight Mortgage does. Nobody. See our rates and get a free quote on your purchase or refinance. Call 801-APPROVE or visit lendrightmortgage.com. Crushing other lenders is our specialty. Call 801-APPROVE or visit lendrightmortgage.com.
Wow, your cars look so shiny.
Thanks. I've been taking them to Green Gorilla Car Wash. Thanks to their new ceramic application, my cars have never had such a glossy shine.
Sounds expensive.
You haven't heard about their sale? Right now, their Jungle membership with ceramic coating is half off for every vehicle. Instead of $30 per month, I'm only paying $14.99 from now until September 2022.
That's almost a whole year.
I know. My half-price membership is good at both Green Gorilla locations in the valley.
I better head there now.
Papa, why can't we telegraph while riding a horse?
Son, there ain't no one to blame but Jeffro. He was riding old Betsy the Stallion, tip-tapping away at his telegraph, when blam! Ran right into the side of the saloon.
Well, if Jeffro can't do it, neither should you. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
My son knows he should never touch my gun.
He never talked to me about his gun.
I keep the gun where she can't find it.
He thinks I don't know where it is.
She doesn't
I know.
Someone you love could be hurt by a gun accident in your home. Keep your gun locked away when it's not being carried.
Take the time to talk with your kids.
Have the talk with your family about gun safety.
Talk to your family about firearm safety. Learn how at projectchildsafe.org/welcome.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cash Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. Beautiful Monday afternoon, February 7th. I'm Jason Williams, Bill Walter here in the studio as well. What's the temperature now, Bill?
It is a sultry 33.
That's when you know it's been cold, when 33 just
sounds
feels,
good.
Yeah.
It was 9 this morning.
Didn't even wear my puffy coat into the studio today. Just a jacket. 9 degrees this morning. It was a chilly overnight. There are hints of spring in the air. I have a friend who lives in California, just off the coast in San Luis Obispo. And she was sending me pictures. She and her husband, listeners might know them. Morgan Bowen, he ran for Congress here way back in 2008, and his wife ran a very popular alternative health business, Living a Good Life Naturally. She was on KVNU every Saturday for years. They're now in California, and she was sending me pictures of her garden. They're planting already down there.
Wow.
But there are hints of it in the air here. It felt a little springy today. I've seen there's a patch of grass near one of my regular drives for the day job, and when I pass it every day, I've been keeping an eye on it. I'm seeing a little green start to creep in there, despite the cool temperatures, and then the willow trees. I mean, this is not out of the ordinary at all, but willow trees actually start to bud out this time of year.
Even when it's icy cold?
Oh, yeah. They'll start in February. And nothing to report yet. I went and checked out some local willow trees. Nothing to report yet on that. But give it a week or two. But, yeah, willow trees will start in February, even in freezing temperatures at nights at least. So, yeah, it's in the air. I say it on the show a lot, and people, I've been accused of being a bit dismissive about it. When we've talked about housing and growth, and I say on the show all the time, look, you've got two choices. You wrap your head around and accept that there are going to be changes, including apartment buildings, I know, scandalous, townhomes where maybe you didn't want townhomes in your neighborhood. These types of things are going to be a part of all of our lives. Or we do have an option. When all the children that are born here turn 18, they have to move somewhere else because we're full. I mean, those are literally the two options, because the majority of growth in the Cache Valley over the next 40 years isn't going to be people moving here. By far, the majority is going to be people born here and staying here. And I would assume everyone out there wants that to be an option for their family members, their children, their grandchildren, all of that. So that means we got to get used to the change. And when I say that, I've had people email in before and say, well, it's easy to say that when it's not affecting you. And so I thought, and I agree, it is easy to say that when it's not affecting you. But so I had an experience over the weekend that so people know that this is happening to all of us. Maybe you'll sympathize with this kind of thing. It made me really sad, even though this is just kind of a sentimental thing, and trees can be regrown and just done in planted in a different place, and then eventually those trees get big. But my entire life, there's a road that leads away from my hometown, and it whether it was as a child heading into town, as we call it.
Let's go to town.
Going to town. Heading into town as a child with my mom driving, swimming lessons. I remember a specific memory of this happening on a trip to a swimming lesson. Ooh, how I hated those. Actually, there's two angles to this, because one of the ways that my mom would get me to play along with swimming lessons, I never liked to swim. And so one of the ways she got me to play along is after swimming lessons, she would take my sister and I to A&W and buy us a root beer float, and we'd get one of those little straws with the bear's face on it. The A&W's gone now. That old building torn down.
Yeah.
But so this happened just over the weekend. I don't know when it took place, but I just noticed it on a Sunday. I was out headed somewhere and just noticed it. But my entire life, there have been these two gigantic trees right off the side of this road that's a frequently traveled road if you're coming into or out of the south end of the valley. These huge trees, easily 50, 60, maybe more years old.
They're landmarks, natural landmarks.
And then what was unique about them is they're kind of sitting in the middle of nowhere. There are no other trees around them. They are sitting off the side of what used to be a roaring canal. Now it's usually just a trickle, at least until July, and then nothing after that. But these huge trees. But as a kid, one of the reasons I loved these trees, and again, they were impossible not to notice because there are no other huge trees around. There's nothing else around except a bunch of fields that were often used for corn and other things over the years. But these two huge trees, you could count on almost every day some large bird or multiple large birds sitting in these trees, because surrounding these trees you have these open fields, grass fields, pasture feed for cattle. You've got cornfields over here. You've got it just all this open space, prime hunting ground for birds of prey. And so as a kid, I loved that. When we'd drive past these trees, you'd always see the silhouette of some gigantic bird. I've actually seen a bald eagle in that tree. Huge. I've seen hawks the size of Volkswagens sitting up there in those trees. It's a great place to see, if you've never had a chance to see those amazing sparrow swarms that happen when they all move like a school of fish. Just amazing stuff around this tree. It's gone. I don't know when it happened, but there's a lot of housing happening around there. Most of the fields have been sold at this point. They're going to be subdivisions. You can see the roads going in. They're burying the sewer pipes. That's been happening, all through the summer. And
that's like an old building coming down.
Oh, yeah. And the trees just gone. Just shredded stumps at this point. It looks like they've ripped them down with a backhoe, probably. Yeah.
Progress.
I still say the same thing. We've got to wrap our heads around change. And I know trees can be planted elsewhere, and those trees will eventually be big. But sadly, the hunting ground for the hawks and that one bald eagle I saw when I was 11, it's gone. It's going to be a paved subdivision. So the change hits us all, and it is hard to see, and it is sad to see. This was a nostalgic moment for me when I glanced up and realized those gigantic trees I've known my whole life, felt like I've known my whole life, are now just shredded stumps sticking out of the ground. It was heartbreaking, but it's, like I say, the only other option is we start kicking people out, including our next generations, our children, our grandchildren. But there's my sympathy, basically, for all of this. I am not heartless about this just because I'm on the radio. It hurts me, too. It's still where we're headed, and we need to adapt. All right. On the other side, a cool historical event happening this week. Wednesday evening, a big discussion from the Cache Historical Society involving the railroad. What it used to be here in Cache Valley, what happened to it, and might it come back? Well, a historian of the railroad will be speaking to that, and we'll be talking to them. The Cache Historical Society joining us right after this.
If you're looking for your next pre-owned vehicle, buy it from a name that Utah has trusted for over 95 years. For generations, the Murdoch Auto Team has given Utah's pre-owned car, truck, and SUV buyers a comfortable, no-pressure buying experience. So go for the gold this February and get 1.99% financing for 72 months, plus no payments for 90 days, and a complimentary gift with every pre-owned vehicle purchase. When you walk through our doors, you feel like family at Murdoch Hyundai or online at murdochhyundai.com.
1.99% APR. Must finance through TWCU. Not all buyers will qualify. See dealer for complete details. Offer ends 2/28/22.
It's true, many of us spend more time thinking about what's for dinner than thinking about retirement. But if you think your retirement needs deserve more attention, we agree, and we'd like to help. We're Edward Jones. Together, we can give your long-term retirement strategy the attention it deserves. Contact your local Edward Jones financial advisor to get started today. Call 1-800-ED-JONES. Visit edwardjones.com or stop by any of the 7 Edward Jones offices in Cache Valley.
Serving overseas was just the beginning. We might be home from war, but our mission continues in communities all across the country. It's why we're out there in times of peace and crisis, providing meals to the hungry and supplies to the sick. It's why we're giving strength to those who are too weak and bringing resources to those without them. Service doesn't stop when we're done serving. It's what makes us the VFW. Learn more at vfw.org.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Railroad going to be a constant theme of the show today. I didn't plan this. Coming up in hour 2 as we recap the first 3 weeks of the legislative session here on day 1 of week 4. You'll hear from every Cache Valley lawmaker, and one of the things you'll hear discussed is this brewing butting of heads between lawmakers, Cache County, and Union Pacific over the railroad's stymieing for the time being of the plan to expand Valley View Highway into 4 lanes. Get an update on that coming up in hour 2. But if you drive around the valley, it's easy to forget or never remember, or for younger people, never know that rail used to be a huge part of Cache Valley on a daily basis, multiple times a day in some parts of the valley. And that is going to be the topic of a discussion presented by the Cache Valley Historical Society. They will be meeting Wednesday evening, February 9th at 7 p.m. at the Cache Historic Courthouse, 199 North Main there on Logan Main Street. At 7 p.m. Wednesday evening, they will be meeting and hearing a presentation by Ted Hansen titled The Birth and Death of the Utah-Idaho Central Railroad. Joining us right now, the man who will be giving that presentation Wednesday evening, Ted Hansen. And Ted, appreciate taking some time for KVNU today. Tell us, without spoiling everything for Wednesday evening, because of course we're doing a teaser here to get people out to the event. Can you give us just a little hint of what your presentation includes?
Well, the primary presentation will be the birth and death of the Utah-Idaho Central Railroad. But I'm also going to touch a little bit on the Utah Northern, which was really the first railroad into Cache Valley. It was a steam railroad where the Utah-Idaho Central was a trolley system.
Oh, wow.
And along the timeline of talking about those two railroads, we'll bring about some historical events that people may be interested in hearing about.
And you, Ted, you have a bit of fame yourself as a rail historian. How did that happen?
Well, not a general railroad historian, but when I grew up, my father worked for the Utah-Idaho Central Railroad for 28 years. My uncle from Preston worked for him for about 30 years. So in growing up, my family was, it's all railroad. We were encased in the railroad at that time. And so back in about 1990, I decided before my father passed away to start getting a little bit of information put together, at least on that railroad. But then in 1969, I also had the opportunity to collaborate with Bosco Call and Norm McPhee, and we put together an hour show or an hour film of the building of the Transcontinental Railroad. So I've had the fingers in a little bit of railroad throughout the years, and I still enjoy the train whistle and the clang.
Sure. Wait, can we talk about that a bit, Ted? The appeal, because I have the bug too. And you know, even Frontrunner, the public transit, the high speed train running along the Wasatch Front there, or you know, the opportunities I've had to step onto a steam train or even see one go by, there's an appeal there. There's something very alluring about that, the sounds, the smell. I can't put my finger on it though. Have you been able to over the years? What the draw is?
No, it just becomes ingrained in you. I know how my father used to jump in the car and head to Cache Junction when he heard that one of the old steam engines was going to go through there, and it was hard to stop him. And I kind of got the bug from him.
That's fun. This is well. I'm glad you're around because I've had the opportunity to hear you speak on rail before, Ted. And for listeners out there, you don't want to miss this one. The event again is the birth and death of the Utah-Idaho Central Railroad, a presentation by Ted Hansen, our guest here on the show today. The event will take place Wednesday, February 9th at 7 p.m. It is free. It's open to the public. And it will take place at the Cache County Historic Courthouse right there on 199 North Main, corner of 2nd North and Main. And again, free, open to the public, 7 p.m. this Wednesday evening. Ted Hansen will be presenting the birth and death of the Utah-Idaho Central Railroad. And Ted, you know, I'm surprised, myself included in this, at what's already been forgotten when it comes to the history of rail in Cache Valley. Many people don't know there used to be, and you can still see the tracks in many places, but there was a rail loop here in the valley. There was, correct me if I'm wrong, was it a daily trip between Cache Valley and Pocatello and on further north, or was it more than that?
Preston was the terminal here in Cache Valley, and it went from Preston all through the valley, out through the gap called Collinston Pass.
That's right.
And on down to Ogden.
And that was
then
that was frequently, right?
Oh, yes. On its heyday, there were 16 trains going back and forth.
Wow. That's
quite a few.
That's amazing to think of.
We'll also talk a little bit about the Bamberger.
Oh, sure.
There's a lot of people that have kind of mistaken called the UIC the Bamberger, but we'll get that worked out on Wednesday.
Clarify some things, right? This is and the birth and death of the Utah-Idaho Central Railroad also, it coincides with a lot of other historical events here in Cache Valley. But Ted, it's safe to say that Cache Valley wouldn't be here had it not been for accessible rail lines, right?
Well, it probably would not be as big as it is if it wasn't for the Union Pacific and the Utah Northern and Utah-Idaho Central Railroad. The railroads really brought about growth in the valley.
Sure. It's
you think of places like Preston. They were a small homestead place until a railroad went through.
Sure.
It's the railroad that really has created growth in a lot of the different towns, but lately, though, it seems that the transportation has changed.
Sure.
When the railroad system went out, then went to buses and cars, and we've survived.
So far. Although it is interesting, Ted, to see, rail getting a little bit of a resurgence is coming up more and more in, public transportation debates. And even, with all the talk of broken supply chains, how easily they broke when the pandemic started in 2020, I've heard a lot more talk about, maybe rail needs to be once again, a bigger part of our commerce transportation. So fingers crossed it gets a big revival. I'd love to see the trains out there more frequently again. And
well, I don't know when we'll see another rapid transit rail system come from the Wasatch Front in the Cache Valley, but I would hope to see it happen.
Oh, sure. And much of the resources are there for it already, just maybe need a little sprucing up, right?
Well, they would probably come in a different way. I don't know just what the powers that be would have in mind. You've got so many problems now in trying to put a railroad down. You have to purchase right-of-ways, and people don't want train tracks going through their property, or there's a lot of political stuff now that makes it difficult to put a railroad into a certain area.
It's too bad. I would love to see this stuff fast-tracked. I guess I understand it, but oh, man. The presentation, Ted, I really appreciate you taking some time for us today, and I didn't want to spoil the presentation for listeners, but you've given us a nice peek inside what people will have a chance to learn and hear about Wednesday evening. The event itself, again, is Wednesday, February 9th at 7 p.m. at the historic Cache County Courthouse. It will be a presentation by Ted Hansen, our guest here on the show right now, titled The Birth and Death of the Utah-Idaho Central Railroad. And again, that is February 9th at 7 p.m.
This will be a PowerPoint
presentation. Oh, so you've got photos as well, huh? Very nice.
Yeah, it won't be as much a discussion as it will be a PowerPoint presentation.
And you there to let everyone pick your brain, right?
Not much left to pick.
Well, Ted, you sound like you've got plenty in there as far as railroads and trains go, and that's That's the important part. For listeners, again, it's this Wednesday, 7 p.m. at the historic Cache County Courthouse, a free event open to the public, a presentation titled The Birth and Death of the Utah-Idaho Central Railroad by Ted Hansen, who has been our guest. And Ted, once again, thank you for taking the time for KVNU today, and we'll see you Wednesday night.
Okay, my pleasure to be on, and thank you.
Our pleasure to have you. Thank you, Ted. One more time for listeners, the presentation by Ted Hansen, The Birth and Death of the Utah-Idaho Central Railroad, will take place at 7 p.m. this Wednesday, February 9th, at the historic Cache County Courthouse, a free event open to the public, and a once-in-a-lifetime experience, really, to learn about this stuff if you haven't already, especially from someone so well-versed in the history of trains and the railroad as Ted Hansen. Ted, again, thank you for your time. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. On the other side, Cache County Republican Party Chairman Chris Booth joins us. First, though, a look at the local news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:35, and the news is brought to you by Northern Steel Building. Eldon Dadage has been towing cars since 1965. At 76 years old, he is still being called away from the dinner table or out of bed to crawl under a car, hook it up, and yank it out of a ditch for a troubled driver. There's been more than one dinner left on the table and more than one restaurant with a meal left behind when Dadage gets the call. Some jobs are slick and easy. Some are difficult and take hours. The Providence native started rescuing troubled drivers some 57 years ago. Dadage said he was looking for a job. He had just gotten out of the National Guard and saw a friend out on the street and asked him if he knew of any jobs. He told him to go to Wilson Motor Company, and they hired him. A few years later, Dadage was asked to help in the body shop. As things worked out, he became the manager of the body shop after his predecessor left. In 1983, car dealers were getting rid of their body shops, and Wilson Motor followed the trend. Dadage found a new location and went to work towing cars and trucks, then fixing all their scrapes and bends. The business has grown over the years. Dadage said Cache Valley is a wonderful place to live and work. A Salt Lake City transplant surgeon has died in a skiing accident at Solitude Mountain Resort. The Unified Police Department says 38-year-old Dr. Andrew Gagnon from Cottonwood Heights was skiing alone on an expert-level terrain last Thursday when he fell off a 100-foot cliff. Witnesses on a chairlift saw him fall. He then tumbled down a steep slope into rocks and trees for another 500 to 600 feet. Rescue teams made life-saving efforts, but Gagnon died at the scene. His colleagues at Intermountain Healthcare said he was instrumental in growing the Intermountain Healthcare Transplant Services Program, and in doing so, saved hundreds of lives. And legislation to enhance protections for gun makers, sellers, and weapons carriers during declared emergencies in Idaho is heading to the full Senate. The Senate State Affairs Committee today voted to approve the measure that alters the state's Disaster Preparedness Act by prohibiting the closing of gun-related businesses during emergencies. Governor Brad Little issued a temporary stay-at-home order in early 2020 because of the coronavirus pandemic. Some workers and businesses were declared essential and allowed to continue, including gun businesses. The new law would make sure they stay open under future governors. Legislation also prevents Idaho's concealed weapons laws from being circumvented. KVNU News Time is 4:38.
A building is just a building until it's your building. It's where you work, where you create, and where you store your valuable equipment. You take pride in your building, so make sure it's built right and built to last. Northern Steel Buildings will guide you from concept to construction. For your commercial, agricultural, or industrial steel building, visit northernsteelbuilding.com to see their quality work, or call 435-677-7300. Northern Steel Buildings. Value from concept to construction.
KVNU weather tonight, partly cloudy this evening, then mostly cloudy. Haze through the night, patchy fog after midnight, low 5 to 10 above. Hazy sunshine tomorrow, cool temperatures, upper 20s. partly sunny and hazy, and mid-30s on Wednesday. We've been to 34 this afternoon. That's where we are right now at KBNU. KBNU Weather brought to you by Roof Rescue. Their experienced roofing team is tried and true and will fix your roof guaranteed. Visit roofrescueusa.com to schedule your free roof inspection. That's roofrescueusa.com. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Rochelle Hanks bringing you the Daily Financial Market Report on behalf of financial advisor Tron Arnold and Edward Jones for Monday, February 7th. There were no major moves to start the week, with equities bouncing around the flat mark for most of the day. The S&P 500 fell 0.4%, but is coming off the best weekly gain so far this year. Global equities were mostly higher, led by Asian markets. Meanwhile, bonds were little changed, with the 10-year benchmark Treasury yield holding above 1.9% on the highest level since December of 2019. Encouraging corporate earnings announcements, along with stronger job growth last week, offered a boost to sentiment, while ongoing concerns around Fed rate hikes and geopolitical risks stemming from the potential Russian invasion of Ukraine continue to represent headwinds. U.S. equities closed lower today. The Dow closed flat at 35,091. The Nasdaq closed down 82 points at 14,016, and the S&P closed down 17 points at 4,484. And in the bond market, 10-year Treasury yields are trading at 1.92%. In stocks of local interest, Thermo Fisher is down $7.37 to $587.05. Home Depot is down $2.32 to $357.35. Autoliv is down 8 cents to $101.53. Lowe's is down $2.05 to $227.02. Walmart is down $1.37 to $137.96. Nucor is down 14 cents to $111.12. Coca-Cola is up 64 cents to $61.60. Kroger is down 10 cents to $44.67. General Electric is up 89 cents to $99.90. And R.R. Donnelley & Sons is up 1 cent to $10.71. In commodity markets, the price of crude oil was down 92 cents at $91.39, and the spot price of gold was up $14.80 to $1,822.60. This has been today's Financial Market Report, brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and financial advisor Tron Arnold, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice at 1202 South Highway 89 in Logan. If you would like additional information, please contact any of our 7 Edward Jones offices in Logan, Providence, and Smithfield. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
Okay, guys, she's very forgiving, but this is the one time you need to get it right. Valentine's is Monday, February 14th. Call your phone order in now to Plant Peddler Floral. You'll see that something magical happens, and you'll get all the credit when the delivery guy shows up at the house or her place of work with a beautiful arrangement of flowers. Call Plant Peddler and have a credit card ready. Plant Peddler takes care of the rest. They'll deliver her Valentine's flowers and make you the hero she thinks you are. Call Plant Peddler Floral, 435-753-0444.
This year, let's do Ski-Doo all winter, no matter the weather, because you've got to love that Ski-Doo feeling. So start off the season with the ultimate winter fun machine and get into gear to discover our state's beautiful landscapes. Take your whole family on an adventure filled with fun through marked trails and snow-covered mountains. Come meet the Ski-Doo experts and learn about the current promotions at Frank May Ski-Doo in Honeyville. Rest assured you'll get a fair deal. Frank May Ski-Doo is a 2-time gold medalist in the 2021 Best of Northern Utah contest.
This Valentine's Day, give a piece of jewelry from S.E. Needham Jewelers. Save time and money by taking advantage of our Valentine's Day special. With the purchase of any jewelry valued at $149 or more, you'll receive dinner for 2, chocolates and flowers. You can have Valentine's Day covered in one stop. Choose from a large selection of diamonds, pearls, gold, and silver jewelry. Also, your jewelry will come in our signature gift box. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 7. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block at the sign of the clock.
The guys from UNI Furniture are excited. They went to Vegas and came back winners. Wait a minute, it's not what you're thinking. Those guys from UNI went to the furniture market in Vegas, and they picked up 2 new lines of furniture. New lines of dining room, bedroom, living room, TV consoles, and home entertainment pieces. UNI also took in a semi-truckload of Southern Motion recliners, sectionals, and chairs they weren't expecting. Stocked up with lots of inventory and lots of great deals. That's why they say you'll always find a better buy at UNI Furniture, downtown Logan.
Hi everyone, it's Congressman Blake Moore here. This month, my staff is coming to you. Our team will be traveling
traveling throughout the 1st District, hosting mobile office hours to address casework and hear how we can best serve you. Come bring questions, thoughts, or any issues with federal agencies straight to Team Moore. My team will be in several locations from February 4th through February 9th. Visit my website at www.blakemore.house.gov for the full schedule and follow us on social media at Rep. Blake Moore for regular updates. Thank you. Paid for by official funds authorized by the U.S. House of Representatives.
If you have a sweetheart, or better yet, a sweetheart who plays golf, you're going to love this sale. This is Jeff John, head golf professional at Logan River Golf Course. It's time once again for our annual Logan River Valentine's Punch Pass sale. All full passes and half passes are on sale at the lowest prices of the year. Treat the Valentine in your life to the ultimate golf gift, 10 or 20 rounds of golf at the Logan River Golf Course. Happy Valentine's Day from all of us at Logan River. Play well, play fair, play fast.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Coming up, a recap of the legislative session so far here on day one of week 4. Hear from Representative Dan Johnson himself on a appropriations request he made in person earlier today, asking for some money to create a new center of research at Utah State University regarding Alzheimer's and dementia research. But we'll let the representative speak to that in his own words coming up in Hour 2. Wrapping up Hour 1 here with a very special guest because they have a lot going on. Joining us right now, the Cache County Republican Party Chairman, Chris Booth. And Chris, appreciating taking some time for KVNU today. And thank you for catching my mistake the other day as well. That could have been ugly.
Yeah, you bet. No, I'm always here to keep you on the straight and narrow, Jason.
We should,
always here, and
we should clear that up again because caucus nights are important for listeners who weren't listening. When I was talking about this bill that passed that's going to change the filing period, while I was talking about that, I said it's going to impact caucus nights as well, and Chris texted me that within minutes. No, it won't. No, it won't. And so I was able to correct that the next day, and I appreciate that because caucus night's pretty important. If people hear it's going to be moved and they haven't heard the date, they're all yelling at you, right?
Yes, they are. Especially those within the party that are helping to organize all the meetings. So they're the ones who are going to yell at me the loudest.
Sure.
But caucus is still March 8th. I do appreciate you giving us some time today. I'm calling in from Merle Haggard Drive in Bakersfield, California.
Really?
Right now.
Congratulations. That's very cool.
Yeah. I'm on the way to the World Ag Expo right now in Tulare, California for work. So
man, that actually sounds really fun.
It actually is a lot of fun. It's I don't want to rub it in to anybody back home in Cache. I don't know what the current temperature there is, but current temperature here is blue skies and 78 degrees.
Ooh, that sounds really nice.
So nobody hold that against me. But,
no, enjoy it while you can.
Right, exactly. Just go where they tell me. So it's anyway, but yeah. So so that does change. It did change the filing. The date for the filing periods and all that, but did not touch caucus. So all of our caucus information, and this is going to be really important for listeners and for all the voters in Cache County. So it's important to know where your caucus meeting is.
Sure.
And which precinct actually in, because due to redistricting, and Jason, I hope you can hear me okay. I'm in California, so I cannot be on my phone. I have to use my hands-free system.
No, it sounds fine.
And so but due to redistricting, we had to, our county clerk's office worked very hard, and they had to redraw the precinct maps. And so all of that's been updated. You go to the elections tab under the Cache County Clerk's website, and you can go to the interactive map. There's a link there that will open that up. Type in your address, and it will give you your precinct number, and of course, House and Senate district, and the congressional district hasn't changed. But with that redistricting, as you know, and as most people who are paying attention to politics in an off year, but to some people's surprise, the numbers of the precincts have all changed a little bit. Also, the number of our current House and Senate districts that represent all or part of Cache County have changed a little bit as well.
That's right.
Starting next year. So,
for example, Representative Peterson, without having to run an election, he becomes a representative in District 2 instead of 3, right?
That's right. Yeah. It's representative in District 2, and then Representative Johnson just moves over to become the representative in 3.
That's right.
And so it might be a little bit confusing. So we're encouraging everybody to jump online. They can go obviously right to the county clerk's website, or go to our website, cashgop.com. We are updating the caucus locations. We'll utilize the 4 of the 5 county's high schools as main locations. Mount Logan Middle School for all of the precincts in Logan, and then all of our rural precincts, our outlying precincts, they are setting themselves up at either, say, like Lewiston is going to Lewiston Elementary. Paradise is, holding it at the town hall and firehouse. So we will have a spreadsheet up on the website. Hopefully, we're shooting for the end of this week to get that completely updated. We don't want to put incomplete information up,
sure,
and cause any type of confusion. So we want to make sure it's all complete and accurate. And our executive committee team of district chairs, vice chairs, the county party vice chair, treasurer, and secretary are all working diligently while I'm out here playing in the sun and enjoying myself at the World Ag Expo. It's like the candy store for farmers and ranchers, and it's amazing.
Honestly, I want to go.
Yeah,
I think I would enjoy.
You know what? I tell you what, I think people would be surprised if they're not from California, and all you ever see or hear about with California is the glitz and the glamour of Hollywood, or whatever. They'd be surprised. Like, I think California probably could grow more food, grow enough food for this entire country. They have such a diversity of crop.
Sure.
And in agriculture, some dairy farms scattered in here through here as well. Now, if the Democrats would just let them have water, it'd be great. So we won't touch that one. But I did. But yeah. So caucus March 8th. Check out the website for the location. Go to we want people. If you're not registered to vote, please get registered to vote.
Sure.
Obviously, we prefer that you register with and put an R behind your name. But if you choose not to do that, we'll still like you.
Just as long as you register, right?
Just get it. Yeah, exactly. Just get involved. Just register and register to vote and engage in the process.
What a year to do it, because it's at least likely we're going to see some primaries this year, which you won't be able to cast a vote in unless you are, registered to vote as a Republican. You've got, your calendar, Chris, the Cache GOP. For listeners, check it out. This legislative town halls, everything else you can find at cashgop.com. They're also on Facebook, on Instagram. and Twitter, and they'll keep you updated on all of those channels, regardless of how you decide to follow them. But just looking at the calendar here, Chris, you guys are busy. You've got caucus night March 8th, followed by the county nominating convention March 26th. Saturday, right. And then the state convention, April 23rd, also a Saturday. And then preceding all of that, you've put together a Lincoln Day dinner, which will take place February 19th. And I have to say, Mr. Booth, as far as speakers for a Lincoln Day dinner that I've seen at least throughout the county parties in Utah, you guys scored big as far as keynote speakers go.
Yeah. We feel like we're very fortunate. A couple years ago, when my first year as county chair in 2018, which I'm going to tell you right now, that seems like a generation ago. Some days.
Seems like a long time ago.
Seems like a long time ago.
Back when we were young.
Right, back in the day, right? But it is, we had Tim Ballard. And I thought, man, how can we get any better, than Tim Ballard? And then in 2019, we were able to get Senator Mike Lee, a sitting U.S. Senator, come.
Sure.
And I thought, man, how can we get better than that? And then the following year, we got, Jenny Taylor and to be our keynote speaker. And then now this year, and really, I cannot take any credit whatsoever for this year's speaker. And our county party secretary, Pam Budge, happened to see that she had that Lily Tang Williams spoke to a group. I want to say the Washington County Republican Women's Group, and then spoke to some private academies down in Washington County. Came out and did that, to about 300 people about the same thing she's going to come talk to us about. So she alerted us, Pam did. We reached out. She alerted myself and Shelley Giddings. I asked Pam to reach out, and she did, and her calendar just happened to be open. And I just think it's going to be phenomenal. And it kind of sticks with our theme a little bit of, in an election year, we try to steer away from, politicians. Right?
Sure.
And get us something a little different because, no offense to our elected officials and people running for office, we hear enough from you.
That's right.
During the election cycle.
Especially, in an election year. Well, especially
in an election year. So.
And this woman, Lily Tang Williams, has just a really cool story. And, many people might be familiar with it at all, but to hear her tell the story herself, which I've only had the opportunity to do in video, this will be a unique night. So for listeners, again, that's February 19th, 5 p.m. reception. Dinner starts at 6. It'll take place at the USU Taggart Student Center, and you can get your tickets in advance at cashgop.com. And, Chris, I appreciate taking some time for KVNU today. We're running up against the end of the hour here, so we'll have to part ways. But one time we're going to have to get you in here, have you take off the Cash GOP chairman cap and talk about this little conference you're headed to here, and agriculture in the West in general. I feel like you got a lot to say about that as well.
Yes, absolutely. Let's do that. Ag is a huge part of. It obviously is what helps this country go around, honestly. And in Cache County and in the valley there, we have our own little battle right now of trying to manage growth because people are starting to figure out what a beautiful place Cache Valley is to live. And we got to figure out a way to manage the growth and preserve our our agriculture in Cache County and throughout the valley. So we'd love to sit down and talk about that and anything else. Man, Jason, we got a music show we're supposed to do and everything else.
We got to get our act together, Chris.
I know it. We've been 3 years trying to figure out when to do a music show.
Let's do it.
So
I can't wait to talk to you about all this and more, and always a pleasure to have you join us here on the show. Thank you for providing an update, and for listeners, again, as we wrap up the hour here, let me just run through the calendar Chris just provided for us one more time for listeners. That is Lincoln Day Dinner. That is February 19th at the USU Taggart Student Center. Tickets available online now at cashgop.com. And then after that, March 8th, Caucus Night. That is a big, big night for anyone interested in these upcoming elections. Caucus Night is where it starts. That's 7 p.m. March 8th. Then the County Convention March 26th. State Convention April 23rd. And then the elections are underway. Chris, again, thank you for your time. Listeners, thank you for your time.